5-star Raccoon City hospitality.
What's up, guys? I hope y'all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude, because I am in rare form today. I am actually going to be producing a positive YouTube video for once. Everyone loves to give me shit that I only talk negatively about video games, and while yes, it is very easy to be negative on the current state of the modern video game industry, I think it's important to highlight when you actually do, in fact, like something. So yeah, we are going to be talking about, surprise, surprise, Resident Evil 9, which personally going in, I was not really expecting to like whatsoever. In complete honesty, I didn't really think this would be for me, and I would hate every single minute of it. It turns out I only hate about 40% of it and really enjoy the other 60%, but we will get into that later. I do also have some other good news. YouTube live streaming has been restored on my channel. I never actually found out from the internal team at YouTube what actually happened or what caused it to be disabled in the first place, but I will take it, man. A win is a win. So regular live streaming should be coming back to the channel, and as well as that, I'm going to link my Kick account in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. Make sure to go follow me there. I think it's important to have a backup in case something catastrophic happens again and YouTube decides to nuke my ability to stream just for the hell of it. So go follow me on there, and you know, look forward to normal streams being back on YouTube. We're probably going to finish Resident Evil 9 tonight, so make sure to tune into that if you are interested. But moving on to the more important topic, Resident Evil 9, a game that if you would have asked me just 2 days ago if I was looking forward to, if I had any interest in playing, or if I would even like the game whatsoever, the answer would have been a resounding no on all fronts, because the Resident Evil franchise and I, and survival horror in general, do not really have a great relationship. I am not a fan of clunky, overly cumbersome, just restrictive gameplay. On top of that, I hate inventory management, I hate backtracking, I hate having to find arbitrary items in order to access other arbitrary items that are used in order to progress through the campaign. You know, it's just a lot of the survival horror tropes I'm not a big fan of, bullet sponge enemies being another one. So to me, I'm not really the biggest fan, you could say, of not only the genre, but also the Resident Evil franchise. But I'm very happy to report that after playing Resident Evil 9 on stream for about 8.5 hours last night, I liked the game for the most part, and we will get into that. About 30 to 40% of the game, not a fan of whatsoever, which just so happens to be the Grace campaign, or at least portion of the campaign, but I do really like about 60% of it, which is the time that you play as Leon. And I think that's actually something very important to note, because again, as someone who does not like this genre, me saying that I don't like that portion of the game probably means if you're a fan of survival horror, you're gonna really like it. So take that as a glowing endorsement if you disagree with my stance on the survival horror genre. So the way that this game is split up is the first 3 to 4 hours of it have you playing as Grace. And when you're playing as Grace, it is that traditional survival horror gameplay experience. Ammo is extremely limited, enemies take a lot of shots to kill, you have a very small and limited inventory. If you're playing on a particular mode, you have a limited number of saves. It is the traditional Resident Evil experience that you would expect in the first, second, and third game primarily. And if you're a survival horror fanatic, take it from someone who hates everything that you love, that you will get plenty of that, trust me, because I had to literally force myself to finish that section of the game. It was genuinely miserable for me, and I don't think I'd ever want to do it again without infinite ammo and infinite health. So yeah, take that as you will. But anyway, again, if you like that, you're gonna love it, because it's a very slow pace. You're constantly trekking around the inside of a very large mansion-like building in order to find hidden items, open doors, you know, unlock secret passages, dodge unkillable enemies. Again, this is your classic Resident Evil experience, and I won't say that I, you know, necessarily completely hated it entirely. I mean, from a story standpoint, I think it was actually pretty well done. Grace's story and backstory as it's uncovered is very interesting. I'm not going to get into any story-specific spoilers here, even though the game's already been leaked on the internet for about 2 weeks now, and most people are probably already done with the game if they stayed up till midnight playing it, but I'm not going to spoil it here. But I do think Grace does have a pretty interesting story. I don't think it's anything revolutionary. I don't know too much about Resident Evil from a story standpoint, and even I found the plot incredibly predictable, so it's not anything groundbreaking or something that's going to blow your mind or anything that's really going to leave you shocked when it comes down to the final plot twist. It's pretty predictable from start to finish. The writing is basically on the wall from the very first scene in the game, and I don't really think you're going to be walking away having your mind blown in that aspect, but Grace is definitely the main plot point as far as, you know, the progression of the story goes. Leon is kind of just along for the ride. Grace is the focus. She is the story here, and for better or for worse, depending on what you were looking for, that is what you're going to get. So during the Grace sections of the game, that is where the heavy storytelling is really laid on, and again, for better or for worse, and because of the pacing of those gameplay sections, it really does feel like it just starts to drone on and on and on and on and on, and when things happen, you're just like, bro, come on, can this shit just be over already? Like, I know what's gonna happen. I don't need an extra 3 steps in between just in order to get to a point I already know is going to occur. Now, there are some surprises here and there, a lot of callbacks to previous entries in the series, which I thought was cool, and again, I'm not gonna spoil that type of stuff, because if you want to go play it for yourself, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to be a dick and ruins that for you, so just take it from someone who really does not have much background on the Resident Evil franchise. There is actually a lot of callbacks that even I recognized when it came to this particular game, which I thought was actually pretty cool. Now, during the Grace section of the game, there are your traditional kind of more gimmicky boss fights versus outright boss fights that you have while you're playing as Leon. You're much more engaged with the environment than the actual enemy itself, and you're constantly having to dodge these unkillable enemies while completing certain objectives or carrying certain items through the environment, or even people in some cases, without getting too specific. But you definitely feel that more sense of dread and helplessness as playing as Grace, which personally I fucking hate. I can't stand that feeling in video games, but again, if you like the genre, music to your ears probably. So the overall Grace campaign for me, definitely a low point. It might be a high point for you, but overall, I do like what they did for what they did, if that makes sense. I can appreciate it even though I didn't enjoy it. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the part of the game that I actually really like, and that is when you play as Leon. Now, this is basically, I don't really want to describe it as Resident Evil 6, because I know a lot of people have a very negative connotation when it comes to that game, but it feels like Resident Evil 6 if it didn't suck. All right, does that make sense? Very, very action-centric, over-the-top, you know, set-piece action moments, some shit straight out of Advent Children at times, which for me, a Final Fantasy VII fan, to say the least, was absolutely fucking awesome. I really enjoyed it, man. It felt like an old-school Xbox 360 third-person action shooter campaign in all the best ways imaginable, with updated controls. I didn't ever feel like I had to inventory manage the entire time playing it too. You have a great upgrade system. You have a cool store mechanic that rewards you for killing enemies and picking up certain items scattered across the environment, so you actually feel like it's worthwhile to explore and pick shit up, which was kind of missing in the Grace campaign outside of the kind of more basic and primitive crafting mechanic that was there that I kind of forgot to mention. But Leon also has that same crafting mechanic. You can make healing items, different types of ammo, explosives, etc. You get the point. If you play Resident Evil, you're familiar with crafting. But the thing I love about the Leon campaign, again, I didn't open my inventory once because I ran out of space. I didn't open my inventory once because I'm like, what do I want to pick up and what do I want to drop? I loved the Leon campaign, man. This shit was so fun. Ammo was abundant. You were encouraged to swap weapons. It's fast-paced. It's fun. The boss fights are super engaging. It's just literally straight up action from start to finish. Now, there are some negatives here. I don't just want to completely glaze it, because there are some negative attributes to the campaign that I did notice. Like the Grace portion of the campaign, things that really shouldn't take as long as they do end up lasting and lingering around a lot longer than they really should. And I think this is best demonstrated during one of the chapters where you are playing as Leon, where you have to put together a detonator chip. And there are 3 detonator chips scattered across the city. You have to go track down each individual piece, put them back together, and blow up a very small gate, which sounds like something that should be a footnote of a chapter rather than the main objective, especially with the events that take place immediately after. You're like, why the fuck did he even need to blow this thing up, dude? Couldn't he have just gone around? Like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, why am I doing this for this long? And I feel like there's a lot of instances in the Leon campaign where it's like, couldn't I be doing something a little bit more interesting right now for the next hour or two versus going and finding a detonator chip to blow up a gate? Like, is that really all that Leon's gonna be doing? Like, it feels like there's some pacing issues with the Leon side of the campaign too, which is a recurring trend throughout the entire game, which I think is absolutely fucking batshit insane that people who were reviewing this game said that 8 to 10 hours was not long enough. Like, motherfuckers were literally complaining that it took them only 12 hours to finish this game. I'm in the mindset where I think this game goes on for a little bit too long at times. I think if it was a little bit more short and concise, it would have benefited the overall experience greatly, just given how repetitive certain activities really do start to feel, and how a lot of stuff feels like it's only there for the sake of padding out the runtime. And that's not to say that it really takes away from the experience altogether, because I still had fun doing those things. I just wish they didn't take as long as they did for what I was doing, if that makes sense, without going into too much detail surrounding the individual activities you're doing, because there is a lot of spoilers if I get into that. But I will say there are some absolutely awesome over-the-top set pieces and just amazing moments in the Leon campaign. There's one in particular that is not a spoiler that I will share. There's a section of the game where you're walking through these ruined buildings that have like toppled over on their sides, and there is a room where the zombies are walking on glass window panes, and you can go in and just shoot all the glass from underneath the zombies, instantly killing them. And it's just really satisfying. Like, there's small moments like that scattered throughout Resident Evil 9, especially in the Leon campaign, that are just fucking cool, man. Like throwing a red explosive canister and just watching chunks of zombies fly all over the place. The over-the-top executions, the brutal melee combat. Like, it's fun. And I really wish I didn't have that one complaint where it just felt like you were doing stuff for too long on certain activities, and I think it would have been basically perfect, man. That's how much I really enjoyed the Leon portion of the campaign. Now, the Leon side still has some pretty important story elements, but it's definitely auxiliary to the Grace section of the Grace is the star of the show. Leon is basically along for the ride. Now, you might agree or disagree that that is for the better or the worse of the overall story of this game. I tend to lean more on the side that I wish this game would have focused more on Leon personally, because again, Grace's story to me was very, very predictable. But Leon's really isn't anything to write home about either. So again, nothing revolutionary here is being done in terms of the story, but I do really, really like Leon's section of this game, and I really do want to stress that, man. This is borderline a perfect third-person action game, in my opinion, once you get past the painfully slow first 4 to 5 hours that is the Grace section of the game. And again, your mileage may vary on that particular sentiment. Now, I was playing this game on PC, and overall, I thought the game performed absolutely incredibly. I was getting like 300 frames per second with DLSS turned on, and overall, the game ran like a dream. I didn't have a single graphical or technical problem while running this game. I didn't even notice frame drops, artifacting, glitching, nothing. It ran beautifully, man. Capcom are wizards when they put their mind to it, which is why I think it's a shame to see what's happened with Monster Hunter Wilds, which is another game I actually really enjoyed. So, you know, when Capcom puts their mind to it, and especially with Resident Evil, man, it runs absolutely fantastically. So this is definitely a strong recommend if you're looking to get this on PC versus any other platform. It runs beautifully on my computer, and I'm assuming it'll run well on yours too. I haven't seen really anybody complain about it, but but as always, when it comes to the modern state of PC gaming, your mileage may vary. Now, another thing I do want to touch on is I think one of the more disappointing aspects, and a lot of people in my chat noticed this too, there's like no music in this game. Now, maybe there is, and it's just incredibly ambient, let's just say, but I did not notice a singular musical track in this game that really stood out whatsoever. Most of it feels like the most generic background music you can think of. There are a few occasions later into the Leon campaign where there is a better musical score in the background, but overall I would say it's incredibly unmemorable and even unnoticeable at times. Like, you will be hard pressed, I feel like, to point to a specific moment in the game and remember the music that was actually playing in that moment, which to me is a damn shame, because even if I'm not a fan of the franchise, I do actually really like a lot of the old Resident Evil save room music, for example. I think it's just kind of a missed opportunity for a game of this caliber to kind of just be lacking on something so basic. But again, I would much rather it be lacking in that aspect than being a bad game with great music. So I guess that's one way to look at it, and it's just a minor complaint I had after playing it and just something I noticed during my time with the game. But I think in conclusion here, man, this is definitely an unexpected video for me to make. I definitely was not planning on liking this game going in. I definitely thought the grace section of the game was going to be the majority of the game, and Leon was just going to be sprinkled in here and there for 5 to 10 minutes, which is actually the case in the first 40% of the game, but thankfully the final 60% exists, which completely redeemed it in my personal opinion. Even with the absolute pain, misery, and hatred I have for the first part of the game, I do genuinely like Resident Evil 9 because the Leon Kennedy portion of the game is just so fantastic in my opinion. It's everything I would want from a third-person action game that, you know, just really reminds me of the good old days of the 360 era, for example, where gameplay is the #1 priority and the story exists to have you do cool shit, which is exactly what happens when you're playing as Leon. So overall, man, I would actually recommend this game. I mean, maybe not at full price because Capcom games almost always go on sale a few months after release. This game will probably be like 30-40 bucks within 5 or 6 months, so maybe you could hold off if you're kind of on the fence and just pick it up when it goes on sale. But I would say if you're looking forward to this, or you're a fan of Resident Evil or a fan of survival horror and action games, this is probably definitely one to go ahead and check out. And you know, that is definitely something I was not expecting to say going into this whatsoever. So I'm very happy to admit that I was wrong about Resident Evil 9. It is actually a very fun game overall. Even if I don't like the first part of it, the rest of it does redeem it in my mind. So if I had to give this game a rating, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10, man. While I don't like the first part of the game, I can respect what it's trying to do given the franchise that it takes place in. I'm just very grateful that that is not the majority of the time you do spend in Resident Evil 9. So overall, I'm pretty happy to say that I was wrong. Believe it or not, guys, I can actually admit it, and Resident Evil 9 is actually a pretty solid game that I would definitely recommend checking out if and when you have the opportunity to do so. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on Resident Evil 9 in the comment section below. Have you played it? Are you planning on picking it up? You know, let me know your thoughts. I'm always interested to hear what you guys think about whatever game it is we're talking about here on the channel today, even if it is in a positive manner. And because this is such a positive video, dude, make sure to hit that like button. It does go a long way in helping out my irrelevant ass little channel, so it is very much appreciated. And also what is appreciated is all of you all taking the time out of your day to check out this video, as well as all the recent support as well. I'm looking forward to getting back into live streaming on this channel, even though it was only a day break, man. Like, this shit has become routine to me. I have literally streamed pretty much every single day for the past 6 years, for better or for worse, so you decide. But anyway, the support is always appreciated, and you know, with that shit said, I will catch you guys next time.